Hello everybody and welcome to tonight's coverage of this year's edition of Yes2 Motorsports Group Therapy 100 as we get ready to see how some of the drivers fend for their misadventures here on Maconi Entertainment. Maconi Entertainment is here to bring you action from all types of racing, including this series, Fast Fridays, and many others over the year. No matter what you're racing, we can bring the action to life. My name is Justin Prince. Alongside the booth for tonight is Dylan Coyle, with Howie Burrows working the controls as our producer for this evening's coverage of what should be a fun time for these competitors. 5 years of history when it comes to Vortex and hosting the Group Therapy 100. It's been a talked about event ever since it started a few years ago, and today, a bunch of competitors from all sorts of different disciplines ready to have some fun here at Crandon International Raceway as we get set to do battle for 100 minutes of endurance-style dirt racing.
Yeah, really excited to be bringing the action from this one at Crandon in Wisconsin. You know, there's just something so beautiful about the chaos of rally cross racing, if you will. We have 4 different categories here. By the way, just so you know, this is a dirt surface. We were trying to, Howie was trying to think of a few extra little tidbits here. We should do a little bit of counting, JP. How many jumps can we classify this circuit as having?
That's a great question. I was thinking about it in my head, and it's like, is there actually a way to classify how big of a jump it needs to be a jump? Because technically, a lot of different areas around Crandon, one of the world-class facilities when it comes to this type of racing, can really lift you off the ground, to say the very least. But over the course of the history of this event, we've seen plenty of drivers take part. This year's event features 37 different teams in 4 different types of vehicles, essentially. Pro 2s, Pro 4s, you also have some Beetles out there. You also have many others in the other classes with some Subarus. There are 2 to 3 driver teams as well tonight, Dylan. Many flips are allowed tonight and should be expected with the potential contact. One of the main keys for the drivers meeting, damage is off as well. So it's about having fun and being able to survive over the course of 100 minutes if you want to win this one.
I hope we see a lot of flips. You know, it's not that they're necessarily allowed, right? Flips are not explicitly disallowed in any other racing series in the world, but for purposes of this race here tonight, I want to see the flips. You know, no one's hurt. No one's going to have damage. Flip. That's all I'm saying. No rule that says a dog can't play basketball, Howie Burrows just said.
Pretty sure that was written in sometime around the late 1990s after that thought process came.
We don't have to think about Air Bud or its sequels or Air Rallycross. How about that?
Or the new Air Bud. But we have 30 seconds to go in the qualifying session. Right now, these drivers are in the midst of getting themselves set to go in the session. Now, there are a lot of talented drivers in this field and a lot of different team names you'll see tonight, like Crime Pays, but Sim Racing doesn't, or Two Kyle's Drywall and Demolition, or you'll find Edmund McFarlane, more like McSlowland. When it comes to some of the various different teams, these drivers look to have fun is what I'm saying here, Dylan. It's about having enjoyment with this type of race, and it's going to be fun to see who comes out on top.
As on top of the wall right there was a driver on the outside. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. You know, it's funny. I feel like I did this race a couple of years ago, maybe even longer than just 2 years ago, but not sure. You know, this is the 5th annual version for Yes2 Motorsports. Oh, my goodness. Massive wreck. No one gets hurt. You know what? At this point, they're just going to run into each other at the end of qualifying right here.
Yeah, it's basically just a runoff for the clock right now. It is open qualifying, which means there's an additional runoff on top of the 10 minutes of about 3 minutes. They have about a minute of that remaining. Emperor Evan McFarlane, he is up at the front of the field. The team that doesn't seem to like him so much, the 102 camp, second highest. Both of those are in Subarus. The highest running of a Pro 2 or Pro 4 is Bickford Motorsports, the 909 machine. Up there as well with Team Batman, just ahead of them by a couple spots. While for those wondering how the Beatles are doing, you have to go all the way down to 14th Ian Fisher when it comes to what they've done in the qualifying session. That machine, of course, involving move over. When it comes to the speed, it's speedy time, after all. But the qualifying session, as mentioned, just about ready to come to a close. We're happy to have you with us tonight here on Maconi Entertainment for what should be an enjoyable night. It's been a lead-up of races for the past few days with recruitment races, with opportunities to be able to jump in. And now, as we get set for the virtual off-road Team Enduro Cross season conclusion, qualifying. We'll now see the drivers make their way to the starting grid and get ready for the land rush, and that's going to be chaotic. So we'll see these drivers make their way to the starting grid. The clock now rolling. We'll get through as quick as possible. They have less than 2 minutes to get in their cars. So as we get set to go, Emperor is up at the top of the board. Evan McFarlane's behind the wheel. Matthew Lynn will start behind the wheel of Evan McFarlane, more like Mick Slowland. Team Batman starts in third today. Connor Berry, a big name for Channel 199 washed up duel. Connor Berry, not a washed-up driver. He'll start in front of Bickford Motorsports. TWRS, no control, has Klaus Krutzer, who will start in the 6th position. Dennis Mickelson will start next. That's in Boise Racing. The Fighting Mongooses will start in 8th. Scott Merrick drives for Race the Bar with Team Rick's Kinakusen, the top 10.
Let's keep on rolling. We've got everybody in the field right now. I don't know if we're going to get through this, JP.
Plenty of drivers, they've all rushed to the grid. It's time for the land rush. Let's make our way through Crandon. We're underway for this year's edition of the Group Therapy 100.
Oh my gosh, this is ridiculous.
4 different classes rumble their way into the opening corners as several different drivers at the back of the field crash, including the 30 machine up and around. Everybody else rumbles their way to the opening corners. At least 5 drivers run into the bridge. Aussies Racers drives through it, upside down, goes several competitors into chaos. It is an absolute hornet's nest. Some of the FTF machines flipped upside down, everybody having problems. Bickford Motorsports is still flipping as the rest of the race leaders battle for wide.
I mean, hey, 16 wheels is better than 4 wheels to get around the corner. That's what we just saw right there. All the drivers in this field, doesn't matter what class they're in, it doesn't matter who they're jumping over. They're all making contact. They're all making sure this is quite the show for all of us to watch as we're following along with the 15th place runner right there. Jurassic Park Rangers, oh my goodness, right into the windshield of one driver. This is just chaos. I mean, my goodness.
We just say all the flips, everybody. We're getting all the flips, indeed, in this one, as Amonsto's getting sandwiched here. Ascension Racing, they've had a couple different entries in tonight. Ray Bowden amongst those in the field for them. They started 13th, mind you, and already in the heart of this pack. Let's see just how you approach some of these corners here. In particular, this run up out of turn 10. Cowboy hairpin that leads you up along that front straightaway before you head to the 4th County Potawatomi turn 1 section. A lot of these drivers going to have to search around for grip and find the preferred line to be able to be fast around here, to say the very least, as you see how some of these other drivers rumble the way through.
Man, this is just absolute chaos, but we do have a clear P1 overall, and that's David Holdren right now. Top 4, all Pro 4 trucks right now, so that's currently where we're kind of looking at. Right now, overall, 5th place is in that Subaru division in that blue category just below. Right now, it's Evan McSlowlane, but I wouldn't call him that. I'd call him just Evan McFarlane.
Well, funnily enough, Evan's in the car still, but I think that's part of the point, kind of emphasizes what the expectations are. But you can tell they're having problems straight backwards into a flick spin just about. Able to park it. Good spot by Lind. One of the top drivers when it comes to the rally scene, to say the very least. So a lot of talent coming over from the rally side of things, whether it's from what you would see for the iRacing World Championships, or of course the Pro 2 and Pro 4 scene. A lot of the rear-wheel drivers take part in some of the series like iRacing Short Course, for example. A lot of diverse talent, as mentioned, going through. You have for some of the drivers you see in the battles, like Connor Berry as mentioned. He's one of the top drivers when it comes to the sim, after all. As the Nitro Circus look here tonight with the back of Channel 199, they zip on by Nate Stewart. I see Nate Stewart's having fun for Jim Beaver eSports and friends.
I mean, everybody's having a little bit of fun right here. It's nice, right? They don't have to worry about any kinds of damage. They just got to worry about go, go, go. We'll see how it all shakes out once things are said and done. No such thing as caution. It's all about throwing caution to the wind right here.
Exactly. And of course, we know how prestigious Jim Beaver eSports is. Nate Stewart, of course, runs the eNASCAR side for them in terms of their program. That's been running it for a couple seasons now. Once the drivers working with Corey Rexford and Trey Patton are set to be a part of that entry list today amongst the Beetle class. Here in, despite that flip on the side, sort one of those going to be around the mid to backpacks over at 7th class. Team Batman, though, they're right now trying to battle it out amongst some of the pros. Looking like they're able to slip on by Us E-Racers. Dale Sharp shuffling on behind.
Team Batman right there. How about that? Always love seeing a little bit of action here. 5th in class, 6th overall. Trying to hold on to position. Almost got a little bit of a pit maneuver right there. Here's Evan McFarlane taking a massive leap over one of the big jumps here at Crandon as we're just under 5 minutes to go, or 5 minutes into this 100-minute race. This is going to be some good fun. I wonder what the gaps are going to be like once we start getting down to 10 minutes to go in this race, because I still feel like even though we're going to have drivers that will have immeasurably better races, or should I say measurably, is right there. That's a dangerous place to get pinched if you are. Turn 3 eSports there. Oh man, a bunch of drivers just having a little bit of fun in that 180-degree corner. That is definitely a little bit of bowling right there for Evan McFarlane.
This is for the race lead. It just swapped, in fact. Uzi Racing goes to the point. Dennis Mickelson driving behind the wheel of the 946. Get to the front here already, about 6 minutes through. That took a little bit of time to close up the gap here, but not done. Side by side, cut to the inside by Holdren. Switch back for Boozy Racing to be able to hold on. Lap traffic ahead, though, could play a huge factor today, Dylan, especially when it comes to the fact it's going to be hard to be side by side, let alone try and zip by some. Outlaw eSports, one of the Ascension Racing trucks, just up the road from the lead battle here.
Indeed, indeed. That will be something to watch all throughout the racing here tonight. Currently just kind of following right now with Holdren as he chases down Mickelson here. But yeah, Matthew Linda, we were just talking about his team name as, oh no, a Rainbow Warrior machine goes around. Oh, that's unfortunate to see. Way down the order right there. That is Kyle's Drywall and Demolition. I'll tell you what, it looks like there's a little bit of dirt on that race car even before it unloaded. Let's take a look at the replay here and see exactly what happened, JP.
Got Dersham. Decent land. Nope. Huge jump. Bumped him all the way to the wall. Didn't get the best of runs after what looked to be 4 tires down. Kyle Smith lose some ground as a result of that one, but you have to expect that with some of the drivers here since this is usually, of course, for the trucks. Oh, that was a hardy cut across the track by Red Slice Racing there.
Yeah, indeed it was, as currently 9th in class for Red Slice Racing, but way down the order in terms of overall 29th, trying to maneuver his way through some of the traffic right here. Goodness me, it's so hard to tell every single driver apart in terms of where their battles are, because a lot of these drivers, right, even though they're racing in class, they're also racing overall, because so many of these cars are of some equal power. And oh no, Kinetic Speed Factory going way off circuit. I mean, that looked like a tow was required.
That's our first driver actually down pit road. That is not for a crash. Mink Motorsports, Outlaw eSports, one of the Ascension Racing drivers, all have also already gone down at least. So poof it goes. And Christian Lushan having to come on down after what's been a chaotic beginning to this one. Again, one of the S2 Motorsports machines, the mint entry. In the top 5 you see amongst the Hornet's Nest. See some of the drivers just settling on down and some contact to the hairpin.
Oh yeah, a good amount of contact in that hairpin right here. A really solid run. Oh my goodness, the Emperor almost got over the top of the car in front up into P4 in that division right there. That is Evan McFarland, by the way. So when we say Evan McFarland, more like Evan McSlowland, that's the team that Linda is currently racing for, if that makes sense. There's a lot of fun that's being had here.
Keep in mind, McFarland is a significant name, so to speak, because he did win the Next Level Racing IRAX Championship in 2025. He's also been a 4-time NASA RX champion. One of the top rallycross names for good reason in recent years that's been able to compete in a Subaru. Team Batman in a good battle, you see, though. Turn 3 eSports. Finding a lot of pressure right now to try and see if they can get on through as they make the ways with the jumps. Try and set things up near bicycle for the Team Batman machine. Turn 3, trying to build the momentum and try and find a way to get the slider set on up. Lost a bit of traction to the back end.
Yeah, this is, oh, look at that. A little bit of bumper cars going on right there. You just know at one of these points, some bit of a battle is going to lead them to a head-on collision on the other side of the track. There's a car into the outside wall here. A little bit of demolition derby style happenings right from behind with that 593 machine. Oh my goodness, Kyle is right in this hornet's nest of battling right here. Ooh, a little bit of a slick slide through the corner to just go in between. Look at that, threading the needle. Oh, it was going so well.
Yeah, that was nearly getting turned around there with 593 getting pushed around. It'll settle down after a little bit of that contact. They'll kick on ahead. Keep in mind, some of the drivers like S2 Motorsport Blue gonna have to get the elbows out because Marcus Hagman just had a driver spin around at a full 360, push them forward, but drive on by. 5th in the Beatles at the moment. Despite being upside down on the side for a moment, Nate Stewart is still 2 seconds ahead of the S2 Motorsport Blue machine. Compare that to where Jurassic Park Rangers are. Right now, Jurassic Park Rangers looking to try and find a way to catch a dinosaur.
Why would they? Maybe the dinosaur just wants to roam free. Have you ever thought about that?
I mean, sometimes if you think about the modern day, though, you think about the sponsorship opportunities with those dinosaurs.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they could wear a few jerseys too. Now you're gonna have to have a lot of different sizings. You know, if you're talking about a Velociraptor, probably a similar sizing to maybe what? I don't know, 2XL, 3XL. Maybe it'll fit in a Velociraptor. You're gonna have to build this new process up though if we're talking a T-Rex. And goodness me, Stegosaurus, you're really gonna have to work with the things, the plates sticking out of their back, their spine.
Or you can just call it a Coca-Cola-saurus and go from there.
I don't know. I'm gonna marinate on that one a little bit, bro. If you allow me to, JP.
I'm referencing the modern one. I know you're referencing the older ones. It's a slight difference these days. I know they're in the midst of a reboot, quote unquote, but Chris Leone, he's in the midst of trying to make up this pass after Jurassic Park Rangers buoyed the way on through. Of course, Chris Leone, big when it comes to the iRacing scene. After all, works on iRacing's marketing side, community manager, also big off-road guy that's been able to run with a lot of different series, also through S2 Motorsport. Does a lot of different motorsports coverage as well as covered stuff like Core in particular in recent weeks on the dirt side. So Leone in particular, having a fun time here, a part of the event he's a big part of course, when it comes to running this.
Yeah, and you know, whenever you're talking about trying to run these, to run a track like this consistently, it's difficult because of all the traffic around you. It's not just drivers that have similarly. Oh goodness, that could have been really bad right there. It's not just drivers that have similarly powered machines, right? It's drivers trying to deal with slower traffic in front or faster traffic as in behind. So it's a little bit different. There are a lot of similarities between some of the top performing classes, and honestly throughout the field. That's another part of why it can be a little bit interesting to talk about this as the 000 cars down pit road here. It can be difficult because so many drivers have similarly powered machines, right? So they're all mixed in with each other, fighting in that overall class. But it's not just overall that matters. It's in class that really does matter.
And mind you, one of the interesting things when it comes to part of this here to factor in is you're thinking about a lot of cars racing on the racetrack, a lot of trucks as well. It's going to spread apart that racing group, so to speak. A little bit of contact here up for the race lead positions. Making it a little bit argy-bargy in the midst of some of the traffic. I was about to say, it's going to really see the groove expanded a lot more than you would normally see in, say, a simple 10-lap race that you'd see in a Pro 2 or Pro 4 in terms of some of the sends. The outside line in particular in some of these corners yet to get worked in particular I've noticed when that goes through the run through Cowboy Hairpin. So as some of these machines yet to be able to build up that group, to be able to find some slick built up in some of these sections.
Yeah, and you know, there's just so many drivers on this track right now that you will start to see that slicking up of some sections kind of accelerate the process here. It's not like typical oval racing, right, where you're just going over each corner. Even with a smaller field, you'll be going through each corner within 15 seconds of the last time you went through it. So it's a bit different, right, where you don't have the frequency over the course of 2 laps where you're going to see the same corner. But because of the length of this race and because of how many drivers... Oh, wow, way off track right now. Way off track. Hit way back onto the track. Oh, that was brilliant. Absolutely gorgeous off-road of the off-road driving. Just nothing better than that, JP.
Would you be surprised that they have a black flag? I'm curious on exactly why. Sarcastically saying, raise the bar. Oh my goodness, someone was going the wrong way.
Was that exactly what I was talking about earlier with that kind of like a crossover section right there, where if you get a little bit off even, watch this jump scare. Yeah, right there.
Just
raising the bar.
I'm not gonna sort out which car that was. Of course, we had TWS No Control recently have the tow in the first place, and this is already with drivers thinking about pit stops. Here's how this is gonna work here. You have the service where you're gonna have already people you've seen up on the jacks and taking fuel. The Pro 2s, the Pro 4s already muscles taking service. Jurassic Park Rangers on the replay though. Well, they have to climb the hillside with a bit of a slide, a bit of a slow up for the 6th place car in class.
Yeah, just a tad. Just a tad. Let's see. Replay here. On pit exit is... We're going to see nothing there. Just a little bit of a misdirection. You know, we're being kept on our toes. And for good reason, JP. We've got to be kept on our toes. You never know with us.
Pit stops are going to be quick, you would have to think, because here's the deltas so far. When it comes to Subarus, 13 seconds to be able to fill up the tank, get off and away. Pro 4s and Pro 2s so far, those drivers have seen times 15 to 27 seconds. So for now, you're going to have to factor in plenty of stops and opportunities to take service and opportunities to be able to figure out the fair share at the very least, Dylan, because these cars aren't normally meant to run for hours at a time like you would be on a road car. You're going to have to plan things out a little bit just to see how far you can go, be able to try and stint things out a little bit, to be able to plot and plan for where you are in the laps later on in the race.
Yeah, and you know, sometimes you talk about trying to count back from the very end of the race to be able to say, hey, this is what we need to do on strategy, right? We're starting to see stint times looking around 13 laps for a vast majority of the field here tonight, or at least the most extended of the drivers involved. And if that's the case, you know, you also then take into account lap times and how many laps you expect to see. We're expecting to see somewhere in the realm of around 80 laps. So let's just say it's an 80-lap affair, maybe even 77 laps. So it kind of it all changes based on the number of pit stops and the leaders. You take 13 laps, and you take the total amount of estimated laps, subtract 13, and keep subtracting 13. Once you get to, let's do this little thought experiment. Once you get to 77, it almost fits in perfectly. So now you've got a little bit of leeway to work with here. If you feel like that's too much, then you got to redo the numbers. But always, always, always try to work backwards when it comes to getting some pit strategy. Here, though, it's just a little bit weird, right? Like, everything can change in an instant.
Overall leader now with the cycle for now. Still, Evan McFarland, more like Evan McSlowland. Yet again, Matthew Lind doing Matthew Lind things actually over recent times. Got a chance to race in rear-wheel dirt side. He's a one-time California Monza State champion already in his racing career. Picked up his first one on dirt at Tulsa Speedway back in September. So Monzo's rising up in the rear-world ranks, but of course, one of the bigger names has been able to compete when it comes to the dirt scene for a while now, to say the least. He is one of the higher-up names you can put on the track, and he's been looking extremely comfortable finding the bottom of the racetrack on the Subaru.
Yeah, so far so good for that 102 machine right there. But way up on the hill, those right sides kind of got lifted up in the air. No harm, no foul. That's kind of what we're seeing right here. Here's the biggest thing for Lind right here. His fastest lap time has been remarkable. It's not the fastest lap time of the race so far, but of anybody, pretty much, he beats everybody in the top 12, which is by a large margin as well. That is quite remarkable. Obviously, as we see these stint lengths and everything of the sort be extended, that's where we start to see it change. Here's where it gets interesting. VW Beetle Light Series, they can go a bit longer, it seems like, when it comes to pit stop strategy. Brian Sawyer just went down pit road, was in P2 overall, was in first in that VW class, went 15 laps. Let's see where Greg Johnson goes. Does Johnson, yes, it looks like Johnson down pit road as well. So what we're seeing right there, JP, is the VW Beetles can go 15 laps. They're not going to be competing for overall win, but it does give you a bit of a good understanding of those stint lengths and everything of the sort.
I'll be able to do the math a little bit for those watching along. For those watching along here at Maconi Entertainment, hello. Happy to have you with us for Group Therapy time. The Group Therapy 100. We will be speaking with some drivers, including Chris Leone, later on throughout the coverage here today. We'll have those opportunities as the race progresses and as drivers go through their driver swaps here. Take a look at Dennis Crosby. He's been contending up at the front. You know who's in front, though? Interesting enough, the team that was flipped upside down for 20 seconds on the opening lap, Bickford Motorsports, has cycled to the point. Very quick recovery so far for the 909 machine. And Brody Dosher is right now controlling the car and pulling away from Dennis Crosby on the gap, with Crosby swarmed in traffic by Subarus and Beetles.
Yeah, and it's kind of unfortunate, right? When you're in traffic here, everyone kind of has different strengths and weaknesses, and it certainly seems like getting the power down quickly on that acceleration is a strength for that machine right there in the truck. But getting around the corners, it definitely seems like the Subarus are having a much easier time of that sort. But the acceleration has seemed to be pretty strong, but way off canter right there was that 22 machine. Gonna have to try and just deal with this number 560 of Joshua Matacek. Right now, 7th place in that class, and trying to do some more things to rise up through the field.
Yeah, that's the understatement right now. So paired up with Schlosser for later on in the dirt tracking SRV. See just how much wheel you have to work into this car. Be able to get some of the rotation down, but it's a hornet's nest. Meanwhile, down here, bumper cars. Patrick Solari already getting a little bit elbows out. Moments after the pit stop service, Corsiani moved out of the way as a result there. Just trying to gain some ground towards the back of the grouping so far, with Joel Ulrich in front. Keep in mind that at the moment, the top running Subarus are 3 seconds quicker than the trucks.
Yeah, and that is quite impressive, right? As over the course of a 100-minute race, that will come into play a lot more than what we're currently seeing. Just 23 minutes and a lot of change into it. So it should factor into the fact that the Subarus are well in front by the time things are all said and done. Obviously, that's not exactly what we're seeing right now. Here's my question. When is Matthew Lind going to go down pit road? Because right now the stint length of 10 laps is the case for the Subaru right there. It looks like right now is the answer. So how about that? We've got a 10-lap stint length for the Subaru, and you know what? I did hear a shout out right there for my stage name. You hear that, JP?
Yes, indeed. Very predictive-like when it comes to your abilities.
I try. You know we got the numbers down.
Only 10 laps on the run, by the way, was that number set. So as we zip through, the interesting thing is going to be for some of the drivers as well, is going to be the focus on where else to plot and plan for some of the attacks. Because take, for example, the trucks. It takes a bit of a different effort to be able to send. They have a lot more ability to go door-to-door contact with the trucks. That was a bit of a slide there. Cost some ground. Once again, loses a little bit of effort there amidst the battle. Nicholson amongst those. Scott Merrick also in this group that's trying to pull away as a result from that. But the difference is, the trucks like to fling it in. It's almost like a flick spin we're seeing with the Beetles and Subarus, where they're going backwards into the corner, into Cowboy, just to be able to get enough to plant it down for the exit. With how sharp the corner is, these trucks can carry a lot more angle or momentum into the corner to be able to turn by the time they get to the wall.
Well, it's like it's a Scandi flick, right? A Scandinavian flick, a rally racing technique, right? You want to be able to get that car, just the physics of it. You just kind of want to swing it back, right? You kind of see that as Connor Berry is down pit lane right now. You kind of see that in Formula One. And let me explain. You want to preload that suspension sometimes. So you're going around Cups, right, at Silverstone. You're going to turn that car a little bit to the opposite side just before turning into the corner. You just want to make sure that suspension, all of the machinery is, wow, we've got a leap over the hill right there, that machinery is ready to go to the extremes through the cornering. It's sort of like that here. It is definitely in rally racing more of a load. Right, you really want to load up the car, load up the suspension, and get it going the other corner. You want all of the momentum kind of swinging back the other side. I'm not an expert in rally racing, so that would definitely be something another person would be able to explain more of why it is. Oh, look at that, bug is upside down. More of why it works, but that's oh man. Thank you, sweet relief. Sweet relief from me trying to explain it.
No, but it was definitely a helpful explanation. It's just for Nate Stewart, a little bit of a rough time. You can see on his lid for a little while. And let's see a little bit further back here. How did he get upside down? In this moment, he looks okay, and then he hits the side of the berm, up the hillside, and up the wall.
Yeah, that's brutal. That is brutal. Oh, man.
It kept going to flip on Foley, and everybody else does not come up to help. He looks okay, we would think, after he gets himself going off the wall, but nope.
Well, it happens.
Is the understatement, to say the least, for the eNASCAR driver, as he is now one of the several that have had to tow at least at one point already here. So far, time burning away, almost 30 minutes complete so far for those jumping on in. A little bit of chaos in some parts of the racetrack, others a little bit more tamer of note. Jurassic Park Racers was sent off just moments ago into the land rush area. They're having a moment to get going. Nearly cut right across a bunch of lanes of traffic, nearly getting into a wreck with Aaron Bean with grills. They went off with one air competitor.
Look at that. We're spooling back the replay system, and this is 3 wide. A little bit of pinballing around there, and boom. It's kind of the result of this type of racing. You have that incident up in front, completely unrelated, and that is just a brutal bit of happenings right there for, was that the Jurassic Park Ranger machine? I believe it was. Oh, my goodness. We also had Yes2 Motorsport Blue machine. What? Just... Is that going around? I mean, right there, I guess you could say is going around, but just did not turn. Just went straight up into the corner and just, wanted to do a little bit of a J-point turn, Sometimes you got to.
Yeah. The Scandinavian flick failed in that circumstance, I think, is the understatement. Let's see, I'm now able to get going at the very bottom of the racetrack. Get back into a rhythm. Bit of some moments there. To say the very least, it's a little bit of chaos. The top runners. But all this is still, well, for those curious, we haven't checked in too much yet on the Beetle leader, because the Beetle leader has himself a sizable advantage of 6 seconds as well. Move over right now. He is trying to show why you have to move in front. It's speedy time for Brian Sawyer. Really good at getting a flick of notice, be able to get the corner line down the particular Cowboy, be able to launch from there. And you see the full grid with the full team name, so to speak, right now in the pylon. You can just see how big some of these team names are here today, but the Beetle advantage basically is just about your largest in terms of the classes that we've seen so far, outside, of course, the Subarus, where Matthew Lynn has just taken off.
My goodness. My goodness. Yeah, all right. So we're 30 minutes into this race. We're over almost a third of the way into it right now. And this is a battle for the lead of this race, at least 4 right now. Going into the corner of that hairpin right there. There's a bunch of hairpins. It was a quicker one. It was banked. Right now, raise the bar up in P1, and that is Scott Merrick there.
They just had that black flag a little while ago that they had to deal with few laps ago. Scott Merrick runs away, was 2 seconds quicker than Bickford Motorsports last time by to build the advantage. Now they look to pull off and build the buffer as they come their way out of their gone corner and head up towards the Cowboy hairpin yet again. It takes a lot of effort to claw your way up to this field, at least from what we've seen, because keep in mind, your leader to start this race is in this Hornet's Nest. You have Gogotha Racing in here, eSports rather. You have Boozy Racing back here, Turn 3 eSports, all in a battle. As Connor Berry gets bounced off, nearly turned around. That nearly causes a turnaround in the battle for third.
My goodness. Just absolute chaos right here as some drivers start their next set of pit stops here. I gotta say, this is quite difficult to follow somewhat of what's happening. The strategy is difficult on a macro level, but on a micro level, it's just about bullying your way in front.
That kind of is the emphasis when it comes to the trucks, I think you have to say, just in many circumstances. Remember when I called this type of racing a fair bit back a few years ago? It feels like it's been a while, to say the least. But I can say, with this type of racing, you have to be aggressive. Aggression gets rewarded pretty well. So long as you don't accidentally door someone off the racetrack, you're usually okay. It puts together some stellar and compelling racing over the course of a few laps. Move over at speedy time, meanwhile. Making their pit stop service. Right now, Ian Fisher about to jump behind the wheel. And we've known in the iRacing circles for a while as worked with Hayek Motorsports in recent years for their iRacing eSports program.
Brilliant stuff right there. Always gotta keep on keeping on in the motorsports world. And if you're behind the wheel of one of these machines that are currently on this Wisconsin-based dirt track, then you definitely have a screw loose, because goodness me. Is screw loose, or are you just having a grand old time? Because I'd be having a grand old time, and I do have a screw loose. I don't know, JP.
I don't know what to say about that other than pit stop coming up right here. And you can tell with the pit stop angle, you have to be careful to make sure you don't carry too much speed off the racing surface. Slam into a pit wall. These drivers, for the most part, have handled pit stops very well here for the course of the first half of this race or so. But some of the errors, just planning to try and sort out where they can battle it out. I-46 continuing to dig in Boozy Racing. 21 seconds behind the leader. You still have Emperor back here. You have Team Batman, though, providing pressure that is for class position. Batman.
Thank you.
That's Adam McAfee with 2 E's. Looking to cut underneath. Trying to make the swinging moves. Try and use the Batwing to be able to cut ahead. No. Nothing doing.
Nice attempt, though. Always appreciate the attempt. That's what we always love to see. Still, though, out in front, it's pretty common, right? It is absolutely a Matthew Lynn kind of race. But Connor Berry, only 7 seconds behind. That is not the biggest gap. Now it's down to 6.5. So, hey, things could still very much change by the time we wrap up here at Crandon. JP, we've still got an hour of this. These drivers are going to have to use a lot of mental fortitude to stay in there.
And we've seen plenty of driver changes, as you would expect here with this type of race, especially with the amount of drivers that need to make sure they get their fill of excitement here. When it comes to this type of racing, it requires that sense of you have to go now, 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 but at a much longer form when it comes to this. And there's been so much fun with this as a result. There is some chaos, though. Kyle Smith is behind the wheel, the 593. He just spun around with Red Slice Racing. We go to there because they just spent the past few minutes loop-de-looping in front of the field. Some of the others are working their way past that said section right now in the midst of some of the battles. Like Turn 3 eSports, still, there's some more loop-de-loops going on there in the midst of that battle. Some of the drivers having more problems around the circuit.
Goodness me, yeah, let's check out what just happened right there, JP. As Kyle's drywall and demolition goes right underneath and smacks himself into the left door of the driver in front. Comes back onto the circuit in quite a dangerous way, and that could have been a lot worse. And then right in behind, trying to get back onto the track. There is a pole there. You cannot drive through a pole.
Good, but it's not Grand Theft Auto where he can knock down all the poles. Red Slice Racing. Looked like, okay, we're going, we're not going.
That's awesome.
Red Slice Racing dead last, by the way, by 6 minutes. Andrew Cooksley behind the wheel of that car. Some of the others that have bounced around a bit. Team Watson Racing. Their team with no control, part of their partnership. Trying to catch up to Jurassic Park. RS has actually a pretty decent contingency when it comes to the dirt side of things. Especially as one of the setup shops, of course, that pop up on the platform. Maconi Entertainment. Oh, I don't know what was that. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is part of the big spread of organizations that have good representation in the different communities there to represent those who battle in them, and also partner with the various teams that run a fair bit in the league scene. See, though, just how difficult it is to get through this traffic. Mickelson's there. Aaron Bean staying on the inside of the Beetle. All different lineups in the Beetle. That is the light version of the Beetle, mind you. Seems to have good cornering speed again, Dylan, but the problem is straight line speed advantage. Subaru second goes to the Pro 4.
Yeah, 100%. It does appear to be that way. Oh, a little bit of a spin down on the inside of that 180 degree, or more like 130 degree quarter right there. Now we're paying attention to Slow House, and Snoop, there it is. Can we just, pick out our favorite names and team names from this entire event? There's some really, really solid team names. Snoop, there it is definitely a classic. Obviously, Evan McFarlane, more like Evan McSlolin, is a burn. Quite the burn, will not lie. By the way, a bit of a swap of position right now because Connor Berry went down pit road, has one lap more on that stint, or I should say 1 lap extra comparatively. Both of them have had stint lengths that were pretty much identical, but 1 lap separate on pit stops 2 and then I believe 3 this would be considered, or at least stint number 3. So we get back into a position where the gap between Barry and Lind is now 8.8 seconds between first and now third. Keenan Kuzan is about to go down pit lane right about now. We would assume 10 laps for the Subarus, 15 laps for the Beetles, and the trucks are kind of in between.
Yeah, that seems to be the way it's cycling, where initially it was a little bit longer, as you would expect. The start of the race, it just seems to naturally go that way. But things change over the course of time. As Team Batman gets a little bit of argy-barginess, trying to make their way on through the traffic, that time coming out of the Leverage Gravel Pit. Now working their way on through Calamity Corner. So far, not too much calamity in Calamity Corner to give the field credit, though, with how things have fared out here today. That Countryman is the one behind the wheel, though, of the Batman machine.
You mean the Batmobile? Brother.
Yes. Yes, the Batwing. The Batplane.
What are you, it's not a Batplane yet. It will be. It can be. Oh, man. No!
It's now in the trees.
Apparently you can drive through trees, though.
That's something to check for the physics later on. That's the first time I think we've ever seen someone drive through those inside trees there. JC Simsport with Joey Morissette showing, yes, you can drive through the trees here at Crandon.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. You can just drive on straight through. It will be something that those two will make sure to think about going forward if they have any more incidents at that set of corners. By the way, let's give a shout out real quick to Greg Johnson. He'll drop back because he's going to pit any moment now, but currently P1 in the Beetle class and that JG Racing machine, putting more cars to deal with his fury, I guess you could say. 16 laps on this stint. I think that's the longest we've seen any car make so far in one go. Obviously, the Beetles have the best in terms of mileage, but it's just quite impressive.
It's been nice and solid so far. Been quiet. No major issues so far for them. That's the bright side, you could say, at this point. As there they go for the scheduled service. 16 laps on the stint this time through. As it looks like they're going to make a driver change potentially. We'll have to see if Greg Johnson jumps out. Morissette is the next driver up on the docket. Looks like no change. Johnson staying in the car, in fact. We'll see where they end up cycling overall here compared to the JC machine. Dennis Crosby. See him on the dig once again. We've seen a lot of Crosby time here today. Keep it up with the 46. They've lost 40 seconds to the overall leader. But for the class lead, that gap is about 17 seconds between first and second.
Hey, we've got 57 minutes to go here. We are starting to inch closer and closer to that halfway point, which is going to be quite surprising once we do get to that way, to kind of be able to say and tell exactly who and where everyone kind of stands.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be one of those drivers who has to come around with 2 laps to go for the pit stop, even though they're quick. It can absolutely be costly for your interval. So as this field sets themselves up here, the rest of the pack, keep in mind some of the different things to think about when it comes to the storylines here at this point. Of course, you have a lot of the different teams. Slow House of Mouse Incorporated race team once was battling Cole Fisher in the 7th spot, having to come out from the wall. The Fighting Mongooses definitely were in a bit of a fight that went wrong.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. That's 2 barrel rolls and a nice little 360 across the Z-axis right there.
Ramped right off Greg Johnson for good measure. That's why he flipped so violently there. That's the risk of making contact midair sometimes. It changes trajectories in a very unpredictable way compared to if you're on a flat surface. Look at this. In normal space, that's fine. He flicks around to the left. Instead, it rolls him over to the right.
You also have to remember, right, these, especially in the trucks here, there's a lot of give with the suspension. It's quite soft, so you will start to see the car bounce up a lot more than you would see maybe with the Subarus and the VW Beetles. So those incidents, they're quite common for the trucks if you make a move like that, rather than those rallycross typical machines. We currently watch with Matthew Lind right now. Up in P1, and there is a 10-second gap that has now been opened up between he and Channel 199, washed up duo, currently driven by Connor Berry right now. Evan McFarland up into a podium position at the time because he's 17 seconds off the lead, but no one else is within that pace. He's 13 seconds up on P4 in class. Number 1 in the class for the trucks in that Pro 4 truck is Scott Merrick and Raise the Bar. So the gaps between drivers in class quite large right now in the top 2 divisions.
Definitely has been so far, as you see McFarland try and just cut through the traffic. 20 seconds on the net race lead as we go. A little bit of pushing and shoving, and all sorts of chaos with some of the Beetles going around also. McFarland, though, been able to withstand it pretty well. We are almost about halfway through the race. The field has been told, stop bump drafting and stop making contact midair. Keep it clean has been the request made by race control, Dylan.
Don't like it. What is this? This is America. Let's have fun.
I mean, keep it clean. Let's have some fun from Wisconsin. As Morissette gets fired up, let's see what happened to Morissette.
You know, we're going to watch the replay right here. Going through into this 180-degree corner. That seems to be a little bit of chaos corner right here. Boop. Just a little nudge. Boop. Another nudge. Boop. 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 Onomatopoeias.
And then get stuck trying to fire it back up. Get it cranked up.
Ow. Start moving.
Do have a couple drivers standing by here. We have opportunities to speak with some of the competitors as they run. One of the teams that we can talk to is Bennett and Win It. Again, that's 272 camp. See real quickly as John Winkler says Lizard
Hello.
to us. Hello, how
Lizard.
have things been going for you guys here tonight in the 272
Hey, they're
camp?
they're going pretty well. We had a spicy start. We went dead last, but our team name is Bennett to win it. So we got the binning it out of the way, and now we're on our way to winning it.
How would you describe the fun factor when it comes to an event like this, the 5th running of this one? What's it take to plan for a race like this?
A lot of hope and prayer, and just praying that you're going to be clean, because these races are super fun. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it an 11. It's a blast. I mean, there's all these classes out here running, and it gets spicy, so you just try to be as clean as you can and put in your lap times and get her done. So, yeah, super fun out here. Zach is doing a great job. My teammate, love driving with this guy. We drove the last one, and we're running it back for this final one. He's got about 6 laps before he pits, and I got to swap into the truck. So just watching him put in some heaters here and keeping it alive. Yeah, it's great.
So when it comes to this type of a race, you mentioned just how some of the preparation can be done, which is chaos, to say the least. But
Yeah.
in the race itself, what's kind of that mindset knowing you have 4 distinct classes which race in 2 or 3 different types of ways here, because you have Scandinavian flicks when it comes to the iRacing rallycross machines, but you also have for the pro trucks having to use a completely different style of the line where that seems to converge to a lot of contact.
Yeah, you're keeping an eye on your relative, and I'm just trying to update him as to the traffic around him and who's coming, if it's a Pro 4 or a Beetle Light or a Subaru, so we can plan accordingly. You know, maybe you got to let a car cut him loose, let him by you, so you can run clean. Otherwise, you're kind of banging doors and slowing yourself up. So, yeah, you just kind of see who's around you and make sure you can navigate through the traffic effectively and keep her on all 4 wheels, rubber side down. Like a Beetle just came in, almost sent it into Zach there, but he was okay in Cowboy. So, yeah, just you gotta be hyper alert and keep your head on a swivel out here.
So what's the plan for when you jump behind the wheel of the car?
The plan is to just go for it. We're just gonna try and put in as many fast laps as possible. I know we got a pretty good gap in our class, so barring any catastrophes, I'm feeling pretty confident we can have a good result up here. Want to get this truck at least on the podium somewhere, hopefully P1, but we'd love another interview here at the end. Yeah, we're just going to make sure we stay clean, run quick, and manage the traffic around us.
All right, anything you want to give a shout out to or bring attention to before you let you get back to your team?
Oh man, I'm just kind of locked in on this race, but just thanks to Zach for making this killer paint and being my teammate. He's fun to race with. I'm on the racecraft side of things, so Racecraft Academy, always awesome to be a part of them, and I've got the Real Broker sticker on there and everything. So, yeah, just big shout out and his team too for letting him race with me. And all the fans watching this race. I hope you're enjoying it. It's a blast. Appreciate you guys for putting on the broadcast. Can't wait to watch this one back.
Good luck the rest of the way, guys.
Thank you.
John Winkler taking the time to speak was here coming up. Chris Leone, we mentioned alluding to him coming up into the opportunities. Chris Leone is celebrating the Whopper song, it sounds like.
You know, I am so glad that I changed my intro song to something that's all ages appropriate. How are you all doing?
We're doing great. How are you doing here tonight?
That was the most interesting in the 5 years that I've done one of these starts. That had to be probably the wildest of them. Maybe not the not the start that I wanted, getting our friends at Kicker Audio on board the car for the first time, but we recovered, and when I handed the car off to Ed, we were able to at least climb back up to the top 10. You know, this is a race of attrition. This is, it's a good time. It's always a blast, but it is very chaotic, and it's my own fault. I love the Subaru, but the Subaru can be a bit of a dart without feathers when it is in the wrong hands.
So talking about this event, it's the 5th anniversary when it comes to running this event so far. It's been a prestigious race and talk about in iRacing circles for years now. How are you feeling about now making it to the 5-year mark for Yes to Motorsport running the Group Therapy 100?
Oh, it has been a blast. We just we did this as a goof back in 2021. It was just, there's all sorts of, there's all sorts of multi-class races. Obviously, iRacing has the special events for everything, road racing, and we just kind of had this idea, right, where, we wanted to see, well, can we basically do a desert race on iRacing? Which is to say, can we just have multiple classes out there essentially doing a loop, kind of like something like the Laughlin Desert Challenge, where you have a lot of different vehicles going on, and you're not doing, hundreds and hundreds of miles point to point out in the desert. You've got kind of that smaller thing going on, and the first one was great, and we had a really good time, and just kind of made it an annual tradition. Usually we're between Christmas and New Year's, but the Thursday was actual Christmas Day this year, and even though that is probably the day that most of us need group therapy the most, we decided to move it up for a week for the sake of everybody being able to participate. So, had another great turnout. I think it's 37 this year, so, it's usually about what we get, so that's really cool. Always appreciate having 75 to 80 people running an iRacing off-road event at the same time.
Of course, as well, part of your responsibilities too, you're big in the dirt scene, but also you're big on the iRacing scene because you've been for years now part of the marketing communications side as a manager there. Of course, the dirt road side got some big expansions coming into the iRacing build in the past week, especially with things like the cross car, Winton having a rallycross circuit, Wheatland's a feature point. How would you describe in terms of that expansion you've been seeing in what is a big part of your career, the dirt side?
It's so cool to finally have it. We have been waiting for a long time, I think, in the dirt community, and there have been all sorts of things going on, obviously, in the world of iRacing studios, right? Where we've had NASCAR 25 launch, we've had other properties and games get announced, and, obviously dirt road is a bit of a smaller niche, so, sometimes it can be kind of hard to, get that smaller niche kind of pushed up, and the entire team, everybody just did a fantastic job on these vehicles, on these circuits. The cross car has been getting some just incredibly rave reviews, which has been terrific to see, terrific to hear. Obviously Wheatland has been something that the off-road truck racers have been begging for a very long time. Not very well suited to the cross kart, but certainly all the truck stuff. But the cross kart and all of the rallycross stuff being able to go to Winton RX, which is one of the, real world layouts that we have in the sim. We have some fictional ones, but we also have a good amount of real world ones, and Winton is the newest real one, and certainly, Greg Hill has done an amazing job, in his stewardship of those projects, and, I know that the dirt road community, the off-road community, the rallycross community, everybody has been, thrilled and have been passing along all sorts of thanks and, tokens of appreciation. And that's just been cool to see. It's that community has needed it for, a few years now, and it's just, you always wish that you didn't have to wait quite so long, but when it gets there, it doesn't matter, right? Everybody's just been having a blast, and I even got to win an Advanced Pro 2 Lite on Wheatland, which was a thrill. So.
Well, that's good to say, at the very least, to be able to get you some wins on the board. Of course, the Americas side has seen some ups and downs when it comes to the rallycross scene in recent years, but one of those coming up in the ranks that you've also picked up on the marketing side is Rally X. Heard you guys just had that launch where you guys are actually going to be coming to Crandon, a part of that series next year.
And you know what? The world, in some small part, actually owes that to this race. When we first did group therapy in 2021, and I discovered just kind of how fun it was to put the rallycross cars on this track, I was like, I hope somebody does it someday. And, when certain things just kind of changed in the North American rallycross landscape, it just got to a point where, I wanted to be back involved. I pushed to get involved with Rally X Americas, to work, with Andreas Eriksson, Kevin Oliver, everybody on the OMSE side, the First Corner side, the Rally X side. It's such a great group of people. But the best way that I can really describe it is, let's say that you're like a small market pitcher in Major League Baseball, and you were like the ace or maybe the second, starting pitcher in the rotation for like the Royals or the Pirates or something. And you've been out of the game for a few years, and then you just, start blowing up the phone of the LA Dodgers, the New York Yankees, my Boston Red Sox, and are like, hey, I want to be back in the league. I want to get a shot. And they're like, yeah, sure. So that has really been neat. The schedule is amazing. North American Rallycross has never had a more strategic schedule because we're going to all facilities that don't require these, gigantic track builds the way that you've seen with previous sanctioning bodies. Crandon, Marty Fiolka has been amazing. The Flannery family have been amazing to work with. Eldora, track GM Levi Jones has been awesome to work with. Our friends at Trois Rivières, Dominic Fouget, has become a great friend over the process and is somebody who's really, had the best interests of Rally X as a whole at heart. And they're all just, this is a dream team. Like, this is the best shot that I think that we've ever had. And of course, my good friend Jim Beaver going to be on the mic, with JBE, and obviously JBE has been a huge part of this race as well. But yeah, I am so thrilled, to work with our whole team over there, Kirk, Peter, Nicholas, everybody that I'm forgetting on the Rally X Americas side, that we're launching a racing series. It's going to be cool, and we'll see y'all in June.
And of course, you mentioned some of the different teams that have been able to take part in this event, this race at one point brought to you by Jim Beaver eSports over the years, for example. In terms of some of the presenting partners, a lot of different teams have popped up in Vortex in terms of the racing side, in terms of the other series you've ran here. But here at the Grapevine, there's a little bit of a lead up to the future of some of those types of series as well, is there not?
So this is something that I just kind of spitballed a couple of days ago and messaged a few people, and everybody was like, wow, that's a really cool idea. Like, we are totally in. So one of the things that is going to be really cool that we're going to do with Vortex for next year, first of all, we're going to go to 4 events because we have Wheatland now, so we're going to be able to add one there. But we are also going to do a cup of leagues. We have so many people that come across from, NASA Sim Racing, Pretend Racing Online, iRacing Short Course, Special Stage, and they all run those leagues regularly. And they'll run Yes2's house events, weekly events, now and again, here and there. Some of them are pretty regular. Some of them will only do a couple at a time. Some of them will only do Vortex. But we get such cool contingents from these groups. And so one of the things that will be cool for 2026 is, we're going to let leagues kind of have entries that they've declared that are theirs in all these races. And when I do points at the end of the race, the top 3 entries per league, we're going to total up the points for them. Top point scorers. We have a weird point system. The point values are pegged to last place. So last always gets 500 in class. Second to last gets 600. Third to last gets 700, etc., etc. So the top 3 point scorers, so a third place finish in a giant class might be worth more than a win in a very small class, which is how desert racing does it, and I think is a fair way to do it in an event like this. Those 4 leagues have all been great partners over time, and I'm sure there will be others that want to get involved. But yeah, certainly Connor Berry from iRacing Short Course, Matt Schlosser from Special Stage, John, Gael, and Paul from Pretend Racing Online, and then Josh, Brian, and all the guys at NASA have been super cool about the concept, and it allows them to be able to take pride in their leagues as well and promote what they're doing. So that's just something really neat. These events are about bringing people together from all sorts of different sim racing backgrounds. We've got truck guys, we've got rallycross guys, we've got people like my boy Justin Malillo and Cosman that probably only ever run this one off-road race all year. So it's just really neat to have such a mix of people, and thrilled to have something to give them some bragging rights for 2026.
So a lot to look forward to, to say the very least, for next year, absolutely. So on that note, turning back to the attention for the rest of this event, what's kind of the focus for your team, just a curiosity on your side, because it seems like it's been a challenge for a lot of drivers to be able to find the clean pockets. What's that now like the rest of the way if you were for those here on the racetrack?
So for us, I think the biggest thing that we can do is just focus on keeping it as clean as we possibly can. Right now, I know Ed's kind of having, he's had a couple of squirrely issues, and he told me coming in, he wasn't maybe as comfortable as I was in the Subaru, because it definitely is the hardest thing, I think, for anybody to drive on here. But he's been doing great, and I just told him, be the most patient person out there, which you guys all saw the first 5 minutes. That is a pretty low bar to clear. With that in mind, we're 5th in class right now, 16th overall. I'm not sure. We're within spitting distance of, I guess it's 6th, I'm sorry. We're within spitting distance of 5th in class, and we just need to, focus on staying as clean as we possibly can, let the pit cycles shake out where they are. I always work hard to get us as far off cycle as I possibly can to, to help us get a clean pit road and be able to be out in some clear space so we can just burn off laps and just tick off time. So that's what we're going to try to do, and let the finish fall what may. I organize the house teams, so I don't worry about chasing championship points anymore. I'm just here to make sure that everybody who wants to race can find a race team and get organized up with a buddy. So that makes it fun for everybody to be able to have that teammate. And we'll go from there. It looks like top 15 overall through the pit cycling, so we're just gonna keep doing our best with that.
We'll say with some of the combinations with the teams we got here, some very creative names, it seems to be, say the very least, of those having a lot of the fun factor to make sure they're ready to go for tonight. On that note here, anything else you'd like to mention before you let you get back to your team?
Since you mentioned the team names, I need to shout out to Kyle's Drywall and Demolition for being 2 guys named Kyle and picking possibly the funniest team name imaginable. But obviously, before I go, a lot of us with heavy hearts in the racing community today, and Greg Biffle was a fantastic dude. Got to meet him a few times. He was a big proponent, actually, of sim racing, and particularly with Jim Beaver eSports, where he did he did our Short Course World Cup. He did iRacing Rallycross a couple of times. Greg would sim race from his boat, and during COVID, when everybody was rushing to buy the motion simulators, we joked that Greg had already bought the most expensive one of all, and that he didn't need to make any further upgrades. And that was always such a bright spot in what we did. And Greg and Christina and their kids and everybody else, we're thinking of them. It is an immeasurable loss. Greg and Christina were two of the most incredible people that I ever met in racing, and all of our hearts are with their families and everybody who loved and cared about them, and certainly all the fans that have cheered them on for so long. So bit of a dark day in motorsports history, but we'll do something in ES2 to commemorate the Biffle family at some point. Just obviously with the short notice today, didn't really have time to do that the right way for this, and certainly you want to do something like that, right? So
Understandable, and it has been something on the minds, I think, for a lot of people. We were talking about that just before the broadcast here tonight. Unfortunate for what happened to the Biffle family. Notice that Slow House of Melson Corporate team actually put the Greg Biffle font on their car tonight. Put 53 for the number boards.
Yep,
Part of that.
And Ricky and Don as well in their car, with the big 16 on the side. So cool to see some people able to pay tribute on very, very short notice. I know that's always just cool to see, especially when you're out on the track and you didn't know that was coming. So.
All right. Thank you very much for your time once again, Chris. We'll let you get back to the rest of the event. It's going to be a fun rest of the time here.
Right on. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for all the effort that you're putting into this show. And here's hoping for a great finish.
Chris Leone taking the time to speak to us here once again in the booth. Again, from ES2 Motorsports and organizers of the event. Now, as mentioned there at the end of the interview, it is important to mention this is big for the racing scene throughout the day. It's been talked about because Greg Biffle's family were among 7 people killed in a plane crash today in Steelfield, North Carolina. That included his wife, Christina's daughter, Emma, as well as his son, Ryder, who died in the crash as well. Others identified included Dennis Dutton, son Jack, as well as Craig Wadsworth. They were flying, according to reports, to visit actually Cletus McFarland per McFarland's social media right after the plane crash had happened. An unfortunate situation and a terrifying situation that has rattled the racing world here today. Our thoughts are with the Biffle family, and thoughts are with those others involved as well in today's incident that has impacted the racing scene.
Yeah, that was rough. I live 15 minutes from the Statesville Regional Airport. I've taken numerous team flights from that exact airport, and actually a few times we've had mechanical issues, and we've taken the loop back to land right back away, and it's always a nervy moment when that happens. But for it to take one of the guys who has genuinely made a true positive impact in the sport, especially, I'd say even more, it's greater than the sport, right? He's done so much in humanitarian efforts. When North Carolina was, the mountains were ravaged by Hurricane Helene, and we provided aid as well to Jamaica, or maybe, I'm not quite sure, but exactly what else he's done. But it's so widespread, right? He has done so many wonderful things just because he can and he wants to. And I wish we saw a little bit more of that in the world, and it's a shame that, not just him, but the lives of 6 others, including his wife and his 2 children. Just an unimaginable tragedy that has really rocked the foundations of a lot of the motorsports world, especially centered around here in North Carolina.
Fortunate, but again, one having the thoughts here today and the tributes from some of the drivers here today for Greg Biffle, the Biff. but we're under 30 minutes to go in today's racing action. To bring the attention to that on the racetrack, Cameron Peterson, who was a driver in last year's winning car, is up at the front of the field now with the way things have cycled. A 2-lap offset nearly, about a lap and a half in fact, with a pit stop cycle to Zach Blanche. Peterson, another stellar driver, going to be tough to stop here because remember, he took the checkered flag at the end of last year's Group Therapy 100. Giving the hands to someone that's got the experience to drive it on home as well.
Yeah, you know, and right up against the outside wall right there is the current leader of the race right now, overall and, of course, in class. So many interesting things are going to be happening by the time we do reach the checkered flag here in just under 29 minutes time. I do think it's a good time, JP, if we want to kind of go through the order right now and kind of give everybody a refresher of who the names to watch are in each class.
Yes, why don't we do that? Absolutely here. So let's sort things out. Starting things off with those up at the top of the board. Right now it's the Subarus that lead things off right now. Channel 199 washed up duel is up at the front with Evan McFarland, more like McSlowland, who is in second spot. 17 seconds, making 16 seconds back on the racetrack for the 102 machine. The team that they're named after is the our team left in the lead lap. Joshua Darno is now driving the Emperor car. It looks like Darno will close things out after McFarland drove the car a vast majority of this one here tonight. They started originally on the pole before about half the field flipped into turn 4. Team Rick is still in the top 5 in the class, though. Very quiet day. We haven't even talked about Team Rick, which has Francisco Scaramuza from iRacing behind the wheel. You have Aerotech that's also been behind the wheel for Team Rick this afternoon. They're right now 4th. They're ahead of Yes2 Motorsport Mint, which has Ed Smith behind the wheel to close things out for their stint with less than 28 minutes to go in the Subarus. Next up in the running order, you have the Pro 4 trucks if you go by the overall leaderboards here. That's Steve's Raise the Bar, who's been able to power through some penalties over some pole moments. They have one of the drivers that have made appearances in the iRacing World of Outlaws eSports series over the years. Aiden Beerline is behind the wheel right now. Right now, Beerline cycling just behind Thad Countryman, in fact, in the live order. Thad Countryman behind the wheel with an 11,000 I rating on the platform. My goodness is what you can say.
I don't even know. That's got to be top 50, if not more, right? Top 100 of I ratings here. I might be a little bit behind, but I remember, I mean, genuinely, I'm saying top 50 or top 100 just in case there's a lot more that we don't know of. But that is, you don't hear of I ratings that high at all.
He was the most popular driver, by the way, in the iRacing Short Course Series this year, and had made it clear 5 months ago his goal was to get past 11,000. He got past 11,000. The other teams in this top 5 for them. Golgotha Esports is up in 3rd. Boozy Racing is in 4th. Bickford Motorsports is right now, once those in the top running order as well in the top 5, with Dusher behind the wheel of their machine.
Something to keep note of, JP, is that these drivers, if they haven't pitted, if they're getting close to the end of their runs right now, they're about to see their penultimate pit stop. However, any drivers who just pitted, they've only got one pit stop left in this race. So still a lot of things still to come here for us to actually be able to give you a fair representation of what the order looks like with 10 minutes to go or so.
Exactly, absolutely. By the way, that Countryman, to confirm the iRating side, #1 on dirt road these days. Not bad, to say the very least. Let's put him in a world championship, to say the very least. But speaking of some of the air drivers battling it along, the Beatles, they have a big difference in lap right now because 1 lap down compared to the overall race leader is J&G Racing. They have a 1 lap advantage technically because they're the only person on their lap to the overall win compared to JC Simsport and Team BDSM. Those teams are 2 laps down to the overall leader. And Ricky Harden, amongst those, that is in line for a podium possibly over Dirt Track and SRV, and Snoop, there it is. Big difference on the pylon that sees J and G Racing showing consistency and clean racing is what gets you top running orders here.
Indeed it does. Indeed it does. And we're looking at right now 58 laps completed by the overall leader of this race in that Evan McFarlane, more like Evan McSlowan machine currently driven by Zach Blanche right now. But, you know, everything can change in a moment's notice. No damage, so that moment has to be probably compounded by a few more moments if you want any big swings in the order as it stands. But still, Thad Countryman, the #1 dirt rally or dirt road driver in the world in terms of iRacing. If the world only comprised of iRacing, that would be a lot easier for that statistic. But nonetheless, Countryman is fast, but he's not P1 right now in his class.
There is another group of trucks, mind you, to think about here too. The Pro 2s, we haven't mentioned much about Pro 2s, it seems, because they've had 5 entries, been in it to win it. We were speaking with them earlier on. We're actually up in front over Project 137. Tom Monhimas is right now behind the wheel of the Project 137 machine, 1 lap back of Bennett to win it. This is really spread out compared to Mink Motorsports, who was an early tow in the race, by the way, and the 2 Ascension Racing cars / trucks in the class who are 5 and 6 laps down respectively. Bennett to win it. Definitely have reached their goal. We spoke with Winkle earlier. Seems to have a good advantage with this Project 137 entry, you see.
Yeah, 100%. And doing a very solid job right now of just keeping stable and trying to see out the end of this race as more drivers have gone down pit road. But they are way back in this order for the Pro 4 trucks. And right now, this Project 137 machine doing a solid job. Second in class is no slouch. And I know sometimes we talk a little bit about the Pro 4s, the VWs, and the Subarus more than the Pro 2s, but cannot lie. Really, really solid job right now by that 137 machine, and I can't believe I said that right as they went for a half loop.
I remember we talked about keeping clean runs, by the way, we were talking about with the Beetle leader. Well, our Beetle leader just towed, and this opens the door for JC Simsport and Team BDSM to be able to go dig. Last minute or so, Jeff Johnson had issues, and they are plummeting.
Oh, man. Okay, so that tree is a physical object.
That was not a good spot to have some off-track pop up, to say the very least. Coming right off Ergon corner. See, they got some help, though, initially in the first place that pushed them offline.
Oh, boy. My gosh. Okay, that's going to be a bit controversial, too, because that was some roughhouse racing right there. I mean, it's always the responsibility of the car in behind to not only have to try and make that move happen, but also every driver has to be able to take care of their car. We have a switch here. Kyle Smith now in at 593 Rainbow Warrior machine.
I think they cleaned the car, actually. The driver change cleaned off all the dust for Dershev coming to behind the wheel. So that gets all the mud that's really clustered onto these cars off. 20 minutes to go. Pickford Motorsports on the dig, trying to close out for second. Only 1 second back. They're dead even on time compared to the 946.
Yeah, this is getting quite interesting now. Oh no, that is a problem for Kyle. It's Kyle Smith, I believe, now in that machine, and this Pickford Motorsports truck got held up just by a few seconds there. All right, so let's talk final laps here, because I do think one more pit stop is needed for the vast majority of this field.
Yeah. It was Dersham behind the wheel, as mentioned. He did swap in right first Kyle Smith. Swapped around the Kyles, but you're right about that potential factor of 1, maybe 2, even with the amount of lap times here. It's going to be close for a couple teams, in particular if you're Team Rick right now, you're under 20 minutes to go. But we'll have to keep an eye. It's about, this is the tough part on, we've seen some of the teams really try and save a little bit on the gas. Some of the others, not so much.
Yeah, 100%. And if a lap here is 1 minute 14, let's just say, and a stint length for some of these drivers at the front of the field was around 13 laps, the numbers seem to speak to needing to pit one more time here, because you should not be able to make it all that way by saving the fuel you need to do. Cameron Peterson with the fastest lap of the race overall right now. And Peterson is currently trying to make his way through some Pro 2 and it looks like Pro 4 traffic up ahead.
Peterson, mind you, has already had a spin in this stint, having a few laps ago. Only lost a second from it, immediately grew it back by 3 seconds since the spin. He's worked with a lot of big organizations, including now Channel 199 in his racing career, so it shouldn't be a surprise to see Peterson. I wouldn't even call the drivers behind the wheel of those cars washed up, even though they say they are. Snoop, there it is, by the way. Still on the dig. They're right up around Jeff Johnson. Johnson recovered a 4th from a tow situation. So there is the off cycle for the 150. There is a chance to leap on through, but it's going to require this Pro 4 truck to move aside and scuttle along.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? Everyone is entitled to their own space, even if it is more difficult to control these cars and just make these lanes and pathways possible. It's not easy to try and deal with making moves on traffic that isn't necessarily slower by the mechanical abilities of that race car, but just by the person sitting in between the wheel and the seat itself.
It's all about that focus on trying to close up at this point for a lot of these teams. It's been hard to be able to close on up. A lot of the class leaders, in fact, a lot of the top 20 have actually separated out by more than a second. This is the most spread out it's been all day, interesting enough, doing for positions. A lot of the drivers have been on top of each other all day, but not now. They've kind of gone to what you expect for an endurance race, separate out. So long as they avoid contact like that, because one of the Pro trucks just got wiped out and behind because Eric Dubois, who's been having issues, just had a spin and is stuck on the side of the road.
I mean, quite truthfully, just by the math, it makes sense, right? The longer, yes, we get a replay right here, the longer that these drivers are out on track on this surface right here, the more ability for them to start to separate each other shows. It's not even an ability thing, as that was just a bit of a rash move down the inside, not keeping that truck kind of where it needs to be. But when we talk about the length of a green flag run in any kind of racing series, obviously it will tend to lead itself to separating drivers, right? We see these big gaps come down to much smaller gaps only due to safety incidents. If you had a race, say you had Le Mans, right? It went 24 hours completely green. That's where you really get multiple laps of difference there. It just happens. That is what happens in a race. And that's obviously what we're seeing here. A little bit more of a difference.
Checking him back on the leader, by the way, on seeing where the difference line's coming up. Peterson still maintains 12 seconds up. As Team Rick, they just lapped on the racetrack. And of course, Team Rick wants those that like to have some fun here, to say the very least. Talking about that group in the backdrop right now. When it comes to the iRacing side, we've seen Kenny Kuzen take part on the broadcast side. Cisco and Scarbo's, of course, on the broadcast side also. Shows again the diversity of the field in amongst itself compared to the world champion Peterson. who's just been able to plow away and utilize so much speed, just has that extra bit of rip in this car. Been able to pull away a couple seconds from Team Rick over the past few sentences.
We'll see how much longer it's going to be able to last for that duo right there. But let's talk about this duo. Cameron Peterson and, of course, the Channel 199 Washed Up Machine team. 64 laps, currently on its way to at least one more pit stop. The question is, when? It has to be, I don't know if you would, JP, if you had a teammate in this race, as a teammate, are you trying to find the best possible place to pit so you come out in a specific gap? I don't know if there's really any gap. I don't know if there's much strategy to that call.
I don't think there is as much as it be compared to a road race, because quite simply, there's a lot of space in the pit exit I've noticed where, for the most part, whenever drivers have blended out of pit road, they haven't really gone into the traffic unless they've just completely ignored all the mirrors and just drove straight across the racetrack. For the most part, it seems, at least to me, Dylan, people have been just handling the pit stops extremely well, a lot better than I thought they would for a race like this. Everyone's just handled the entry swiftly to the side of the road, made that cut to the right before the end of the banking, and by the time they come to the other side of the billboards, they're coming out basically out of the racing line already as it is.
Yeah, 100%. And the gaps are large enough right now where trying to change your pit entry, anything of the sort, is really not going to matter too much unless you're in a situation like Bickford Motorsports is, with trying to maybe get into second place, only around a 3-second gap between the 909 and the 946 machine. Both of those teams are still going to have to pit. Right now, I think if you have pit within the last 2 laps, you may be good to go to the end of this race. And who I'm looking at right there is Team Rick in that number 30 machine. I'm not so sure how that is true, how much that's true, but it's going to be very close. Currently in 4th place in this Subaru class.
Still going to be a decent finish, and I know from discussing things a little bit with Chris Agoni, working on things, because keep in mind, there is a series championship, so to speak. Remember, this is a part of an overall campaign, right? So those points for the season, for those who have followed along with the series version of races, now that's being tabulated or throughout the campaign for those who have ran the full seasons, because remember, as he mentioned, so the drivers may not have the team pairings, became house pairings, so to speak. But we're under 10 laps estimated to go if you're in a Subaru. And the leader, Peterson, has come in right at 10 laps on the strategy. It looks like he's punched the number right. That's a 1-lap offset to the 102 machine, as Zach Blanche hopes for a miracle to gain some ground here.
Yeah, it really is down into miracle territory at the moment. But nonetheless, this race, everyone's starting to take their final pit stops here. Watching on board with, I can't quite tell who it is. I see Jurassic Park Rangers. Oh, my timing did not necessarily update
Peterson.
there. But this is Peterson right here. That is all on me. I had to hit Control R to refresh. I did not. Joke's on me, JP.
And that's why you don't hit Control R to refresh until the race is already started. That makes no sense. I was trying to say do it before the race. The words are backwards.
I was trying to think. I couldn't get what you were saying, but now I understand.
I was just doing a Justinism, so to speak, as some people would call it. But all that being said, Peterson about to zip on by for the lead, as look out, a bit of a checkup. The 000's been everywhere, just about turned around with the contact. Peterson is up in the lead, crosses over to get around lap traffic. That's what Cam Peterson does. Fine swift moves, gets moves done, drives away. 8 laps to go for back-to-back wins.
Yeah, it's definitely getting into a territory where he's just going to have to be involved in something ridiculous for the 102 to have a shot here, as now we're watching with the fourth place runner who's trying to make a move into the podium spot, Boozy Racing and Bickford Motorsports. Bickford Motorsports currently in P3 for now, but Boozy is chasing.
Here we go, Boozy Racing looking to try and get on the podium. Can they dig their way forward? Remember, they've been pretty close in some of these battles with Bickford throughout the day. They do have some Subarus trying to zip on through, and some other class members looking to join in on the fight. Up on the outside through the slick, trying to find the groove from the other position. Still not able to dig. Now trying to send it a little bit deep. Still trying to go a little bit wider on these exits compared to Bickford. Now as Bickford opens up the door, nearly got there, they hit the berm.
Yeah, that was quite daring right there as we move to under 9 minutes to go here in this race. Still trying to chase desperately and has to get through some traffic. Oh, washing up right in front was Bickford Motorsports 909. It's now a side-by-side duel. Boozy off track in the grass. Spinning is a car in front, and it gets into Bickford Motorsports. A huge incident. It has taken them out of a podium spot.
Joshua Darnell was that driver that got hooked up with. At the same time, Christian Loschen lost it and was spinning into the inside wall. Bickford Motorsports sent sliding with contact midair.
Yeah, I cannot lie. That was not good racing right there. Not control of the car. If I am in that Bickford Motorsports machine, I'm angry.
Bit of a chaotic time if you're them, to say the very least, and that's the fear you have. Just absolutely terrible timing for them, for those Subarus to have control moments there, and that breaks up the battle. Bickford Motorsports trying to hold on to fourth position.
JP, how about the car that got smashed up against the outside wall right there?
Yeah.
Where they've got to be wondering where everybody else came from.
I know they took 20, 30 seconds to be able to turn around their car. That's how stunned they were. Turns out using stun moves still works pretty well, and not just in the Pokemon games.
I've never played Pokemon. Not even going to lie.
Really?
Did not grow up with it. Did not play it. Heck, man. I'm a huge Marvel and Star Wars guy, but I didn't watch Star Wars till 10th grade and Marvel till COVID years.
Wow.
Surprising.
I mean, I'm the person who lives under a rock and has Patrick Star as a neighbor, and even I've watched Marvel.
Excuse me?
That reference doesn't make any sense. I'm saying I'm usually the person who doesn't pick up on stuff like that.
I don't get it, but I don't get it. I really don't. I know Howie understands.
Okay.
Is this a SpongeBob joke? Why,
Yes.
why are you... Yes, but why are you SpongeBob? All right, guys, I'm getting absolutely
I don't know what to tell you.
obliterated verbally by our producer, and no one can hear it. So I'm just speaking crazy things right now.
We're 6 minutes to go in this race, by the way. There is a different finish line in mind you think about. Let's get back on topic of the race, because I know the confusion is what is going on. As these drivers focus on one thing, survival. Blanche has closed up about a second since the pit stop. Too little, too late. Blanche, mind you, another competitor that's raced a lot in the rally scene. I think if it was at the start of the race and you put Blanche in, it's a lot more different, but with what Connor Berry did in terms of that strategy sequence to be able to get the separation in the cycle, but also have the good long run pace once things settle down, has kind of really changed this race for them after Channel 199 was down in third in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, 100%. You know, it has been it's been a really good comeback for Channel 199 over the course of this race. Obviously, it's not over, but being in first place, 11 seconds up with that gap, still steadily rising is massive. And once this race does reach its conclusion, I'm sure that they are going to be a fun or a happy group, I should say, once everything is all said and done.
So, 4 laps to go, give or take here. Under 5 minutes on track. For the most part, it's now down to survival. It's been a fun race to say the very least here, Dylan, in terms of thought process here. But now, if you want to be able to get those points, get yourself solidified to end off the season, now is the time to do it with what we've seen here today in the S2 Motorsport competition. Peterson on full drive mode. Darnell, despite that wall slam, by the way, is still in the top 3 of the Subarus. And it's still 20-30 seconds ahead of the next year's car after what happened in that battle with the Pro 2s and Pro 4s.
Yeah, and we haven't really had the opportunity to talk about some of the battles going on throughout the field tonight because there have been some relatively close battles. It's just these class-leading intricacies have been, obviously taking most of our time, and it's chaotic. We got to give a shout-out to our producer, Howie Burrows. They're doing a great job making sure that this broadcast has seemed as solid as it has. And JP, I feel like as we're starting to reach the conclusion here, we can start talking about how this race has kind of unfolded, and things are on fire, by the way. Everything we are saying right now does not matter at all. But we can start talking about how this race has kind of like found itself into more of a calm than we might have seen from the very opening laps.
I remember one of the things in terms of the history of this event, I remember at one point, I don't remember if I've called this event in the past, but I do remember talking to Chris Williams about the name of group therapy, and part of that name, I remember something along the lines of the name was, because we're all here in terms of having a calm session of racing amongst each other as a group, or something along those lines back in the day. This was a few years ago. And we've seen all these groups culminate into what was a chaotic start, but in the end, when you talk about real-life group therapy, of course there's big benefits to that. Part of that is being able to come up with results in the very end is the goal, and we see the result of some good battles to close out. Team Batman and Boozy Racing looking to battle for second with under a couple minutes to go. Christian Noble trying to cut underneath. Several drivers trying to scatter in front. Side by side on the dig up to Polaris gravel pit. A slide on through by Noble as Noble pulls through because Team Batman has to pit.
Oh no, that is a massive, massive problem for Team Batman, but there's nothing you can do, right? They were reaching that crescendo point where they had to come down pit road. It just did not work out the way they wanted to. They tried to gamble, stay out as long as possible, but it went from a really beautiful scenario to not a great one for Adam McAfee and that 2-1-4 Team Batman machine. Nonetheless, right now we're currently watching as Channel 199 still way up the track, still now 12 and a half seconds in front of Zach Blanche, and we're starting to reach that one lap and some change territory before this race all ends. Lots of traffic though.
Hornet's Nest. That's the understatement of this one. It has been chaotic. Cameron Peterson's going to have to deal with a lot of traffic on the final time around here. 44 seconds on the clock. So for Peterson and Channel 199 washed up duel, they have to avoid any troubles here. They have a 15-second cushion to be able to take the checker flag down to under 30 seconds. Oh, lots of slams on some of the Pro 4 trucks. That was Cosman in a shoe getting pushed around. Looks like we'll have one more time around based on how much time so have comparative to the finish line. It looks like 10-second offset. Final time should be cut up through here.
Yeah, what I'm seeing right now is 13 seconds actually, JP. So it did come down a little bit from the last time Just one more lap to go. I don't understand why he would take this risk. I really would have just taken the foot off the throttle and taken the checkered flag right there. But this is just, this could be an unmitigated disaster if something happens in front, like right there. Oh boy, he's got to get back going again, and he just barely was able to get the power down. My word.
Jared Cockrum nearly sent hard to the inside wall. Car behind Blanche, still needing to dig, still 11 or so seconds behind. Half a lap to go. Peterson looks to sail his way on through. Last year, he's a part of the winning organization that took home the 2024 Group Therapy 100. Channel 199 went full send here today yet again. Starting things off with Connor Perry behind the wheel. Then Cameron Peterson picking up the mantle. And for this year, it's a checker flag coming up. Cameron Peterson will come up to the finish line and win the 2025 edition of the Group Therapy 100.
A little bit too much excitement right there for Peterson, but as we go back to raise the bar and that Pro 4 truck class to see crossing the line and taking that class victory there is the number 13 truck. An awesome time right there. Now let's look back at the Beatles category. It's going to be the third highest running class all tonight. And that team definitely won that race.
Team
JP, what team?
BDSM. Team BDSM, Ricky Harden. We hadn't mentioned this team much all night with the chaos that happened. They were able to pass JC Simsport, and in the very end, Harden and Don Runkle take a win. All well, Bennett to win it. Secures your final class victory.
Well. A very, very good bit of racing. And I hope we see massive wrecks. All right, here's what we want to see. The flips, the spins. Who's going to get the award for the best looking wreck at the end of this race?
I mean, some people are trying different things here with their celebratory wrecks, so to speak. A lot of people like to have some fun here is the understatement of the day, as we do have, for the most part, cleanly going on through. But for the most part, an eventful one. That was exciting to say the very least here, Dylan. 37 competitors, all of them finished.
Well, of course all of them would finish because there's no damage.
Good point.
Are you just saying someone would get bored and leave? You're telling me somebody would leave this race?
No, but I'm just saying a potential fact.
Well, it is a fact. You're very right. It is a fact. But also, we all survive because we have to breathe is also a fact. That was a smart aleck comment. I'm so sorry, JP.
Channel 199 wins overall over
therapy.
Evan McSlowlane. Well, that's the perfect place for it with Group Therapy 100. Emperor in third. Raise the Bar and Boozy Racing top 5 overall. Raise the Bar winning their class. Bickford Motorsports, Team Batman in their top 4. Team Rick got a top 4 overall in the Subarus. Turn 3 Esports and Quanta Esports taking the top 10 overall, Dylan.
Continuing down the order, Ed Smith in P11 with Ricky Harden in 12th, winning for that VW category. Devin Hughes in second there. Sullivan Bershinger in that 14th place in that 119 machine. The Jurassic Park Ranger machine. The Fighting Mongooses in that 75 in 15th. Ascension Racing 16th. Dirt Tracking SRV, or Dirt Tracking, my apologies, SRV in 17th, while Jeff Johnson's JG Racing finishes in 18th. And of course, Bennett to win it. Sean Winkler wins in that Pro 4 category. Eric Dubois in 20th place there. 21st on back, JP.
21st going to Paul Nelson, Chris Lunan taking their team into 22nd. Crime pays, but Sim Racing doesn't. I mean, in some ways it can pay. It pays if you're a broadcaster. Outlaw Esports Blue in 23rd. Move over at Speedy Time. Looked like a contender, but finished 24th. Then the 137 finished in 25th. Slowhouse in 26th with Grills in 27th. Kyle's Drywall and Demolition had a demolition derby at some point in the 6th lap down mark, 28th. Marcus Heyman, Quiet Race, and Yes2 Motorsport Equipment, the blue car, finished 29th. 30th went to Outlaw eSports Team Orange. Rest of the running order with Ascension Racing down 31st. Mink Motorsports in 32nd. The Jim Beaver eSports and Friends Machine had a bit of a rough start and weren't able to recover back, finished towards the rear. Rest of the runners included Red Slice, Ascension, Kinetic, and Aussie Racers. Aussie Racers led early. So Cam Peterson, he was part of the winning car. He's able to drive home back-to-back years a part of the winning team. Cam now joins the broadcast booth. Cam, how are you feeling being able to take home another Group Therapy 100?
Well, I'll tell you what, I feel a lot better now that it's over. I was honestly working pretty hard at the end of it. The Subaru drives so differently from what I remember, and I'm so used to driving the Volkswagen with so much less power. So it was a bit of a struggle for me, to be honest. But luckily for me, Connor was able to pull through at the end of his stint, and happy to take home the W.
So you talk about not as much experience in the Subaru. How is it trying to manage the different skill sets? Because we've seen 4 different cars, of course, here today that had essentially 4 different driving styles, so to speak, here. But of course, your driving skills have a wide range as well. We've seen in your iRacing career.
Yeah, excellent question. I think with a car with so much more power than everyone else, you'd think that the straightaways are easy, but they're not. They're just as chaotic as the corners, especially coming out of the hairpin corner, and you're hitting some whoops, and all of a sudden the car kicks sideways and you have to save it, and there wasn't even a turn to deal with. So having all the power, it's nice in some points, but man, it's a handful the whole lap.
So, of course, this is also part of the end of the Vortex season. Your thoughts on being a part of an event like this once again and being a part of the series that Chris Leone, a part of the organization side of things for?
Yeah, it's been wonderful. I think I've only missed one of these events in the past, 4 years. So I'm happy to see that it's still getting broadcasted. Super, super stoked about that. I love watching this back and being able to have loved ones and family members and friends be able to watch this, and the teammates, and laugh and joke about some of the mishaps that we may have had. But again, super stoked to look forward to the next one. And thanks to the crew and Maconi Entertainment for putting this on. It's 10 out of 10 experience every time in these races. I think anyone that has any leeway into the Dirt Road series, I think they should be giving this a shot.
Any shout you'd like to give here tonight?
Absolutely. You guys, once again, at Maconi Entertainment. The guys on Channel 199, Sim Racing, Josh, Connor, Teal, Gecko, all those guys. Track Racer, Pimax, the girlfriend watching from home right now. I know she's waiting for me, so better get going. Thanks, guys.
Congratulations on the win once again, Cam.
Thanks, guys.
Cam Peterson, off to go with the family members here. Able to come away with a race win. I know there's a viewing party that's built up actually in the transfer room. We have plenty of people wanting to go. We have raised the bar. Has a couple people here that are with Dylan. Aiden Beerline was the one who finished the end. I'm not sure what that sound was in the end, but Scott, believe he just sent in a correct correction of pronunciation. Marek, is it?
Yes, sir.
First time I've heard the Marek part joining in. They're with Dylan either way.
Yeah, and that is a class win for you guys. That was chaotic. How'd you stay, calm through the chaos?
You want to go, Scott?
Sir. I've done endurance racing before, so this was kind of like just rolling to the pace. Especially, it was kind of like a mix of my 2 favorite things. I love endurance racing, but I'm not good at road, and I love Pro 4s, so it kind of mixed. So I was calm all race, wasn't getting nervous in any spots. We did have a little incident at the beginning that really hurt us, but we were able to bounce back and recover before even halfway.
I feel like whenever you have to deal with all the different classes here when it comes to a dirt road kind of race. I'm sure this is not something that you guys necessarily have a ton of practice with. So I'm sure that adds an extra element of, you know what, we can take a few chances. There's no damage. There's nothing to worry about in that sense. Do you guys feel like that kind of helped throughout the course of this race? You know, that the calm from knowing that you could get a little bit physical and it should be okay.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, having damage off helped a lot. Knowing that, like, you know, if you get damage, it'll get healed right afterwards, and that definitely calmed our nerves a lot. And just having space majority of the race, like not having people around us, really helped a lot too with the gap to second.
All right. So obviously this is year 5 of this event. How often have you guys been a part of it?
I don't know about Scott, but this is my second race.
This is
with
my
y'all.
second one too.
Yeah, our last one we won the overall and the Pro 4 division, so it's nice to go back to back here and continue the streak.
Absolutely awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to give you guys the moment to say thanks to anyone you'd like to say thanks to and give shout outs to.
I don't think we have anyone to thank, honestly. I mean, I got to thank my mom for watching and Jesus Christ for always supporting me, but I'll let Scott take the rest.
Honestly, I'd like to say thank you to Aiden Beerline. I was actually having plans to do something like this with my family, but Aiden had a little trouble, and he signed me up basically last minute. So I was very thankful for him because honestly, we were a power move last race, so I just wanted to do it again. Raise the bar. Great community. Always positive, always motivated. And my parents for watching.
All right. Well, guess what, guys? You guys are champions of the Pro 4 category. How do you feel about that?
I did not know that. You just told us.
That's straight off the presses. I'm telling you. It's true. You guys are the champions.
That's awesome to hear, man.
Awesome. Well, glad we could tell you the news, break the news in that way. But we'll let you get going here. Congrats on the racer, the class victory, and the class championship, guys.
Yeah, thank you all for having us.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Of course. And that was the Raise the Bar team. And JP, that's always nice to hear your champions. I surprised we didn't hear them get a little bit crazier about it. You know, you would expect to be fast on in a race like this, in a series like this, you would be just a little bit more chaotic with your celebrations.
Indeed, but our next team, we didn't get the chance to mention them all tonight too much, but in the end, with some of the chaos that happened, the Beatles went to Don Runkle Jr. and Ricky Harden. First things first, I'll ask you, Don, how are you feeling about your team's perspective, able to drive home with the win after you guys were in third with about 15 minutes to go, and then all of a sudden you get to the final lap and you're in the lead?
Yeah, I don't know how we did it. We just had an amazing start. I think that's what got us going. You have to get through that chaos, and Ricky and I were just dead set against not pitting, make sure we don't flip over, make sure we don't have to do anything that gets us towed, and just try to keep it clean. And Ricky did an amazing job there at the end.
How would you describe your perspective driving through all that traffic, Ricky, especially with the chaos, trying to get around JG Racing, who crashed, and getting past JC Simsport?
Yeah, I mean, this race is always the same thing. It's always about keeping all those tires on the dirt. That's what you got to do. You got to keep them out of the air. But what a night, man. I got to thank Yes2 Motorsport, Miss Adventure, Jim Beaver for putting this thing together. What a dang race, man. And I got to take a moment because this means something extra to me and Don, I know. I want to dedicate this victory to Greg Biffle and his family. We had him riding on board tonight. He's a true racer, a legend, somebody who gave back to our community when we needed it the most, and he represents what the sport's all about. So, man, I'm pumped up. I can't believe we did it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely. So overall, though, in terms of the future outlook for this, what's the plan for future races, especially knowing the Vortex's plans that were announced during the broadcast to have those connections with the various leagues for their cup of leagues coming up?
Man, I don't know. Don and I ought to just keep doing this thing. We get better and better every time. We finished last the first time we did it. We finished, in the back for maybe the first 3 times of running a Vortex race. But man, we've been having a lot of good runs this year. It's been a lot of fun.
Any shout you'd like to give here tonight, Don?
Yeah, same as Ricky. I just want to thank Yes2 and you guys for broadcasting the race and everything, and most importantly, my teammate Ricky, who brought it home for us tonight. We did a great job, and yeah, we're going to keep this together, and we're going to keep a good run going, and maybe for the next race we can do it again.
Congratulations on the win today for Team BDSM. Ricky Harden and Don Runkle Jr. having a quiet time there. We can tell you this, though, for the Pro 2 side. As mentioned, when it comes to Vortex competition, there are championships, and as some mentioned,
Blizzard.
there is some different pairings when it comes to that. One of the drivers that we can tell you for the Pro 2 championship was Sean Winkler. He had a different pairing of a driver for the first race they took part with, but today, his second pairing for Bennett to win it, and Zach Amps, I'm going to mispronounce this, my apologies, Zach Zem Anspacher ended up being in the wheel. He's with Dylan.
Yeah, Sean and Zach, congrats on the class win. I feel like anytime you just get out of the car after a race like that, you kind of need to take a breather, right? You got to recollect yourselves. Just take us through that relatively easy victory for you guys.
Yeah, I'm so fired up. No, that was a crazy race. Zach did a fantastic job at the start there, holding it together after getting clipped and flipped, and we literally were dead last. So, like I was saying in my earlier interview, we had to bin it before we had to win it, and that's what we did. Yeah, great job, Zach.
Yeah, and I had the benefit to cool down there. I got out of the truck halfway through the race, so I'm good to go now. I'm sure Sean's a little tired there. But yeah, we went back and watched the replay. We were officially dead last there at the start of that race, so pretty good to recover from that. And it didn't end there. We had a lot of carnage to drive through in that first lap, so we got the job done.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess a lot of this kind of race just is about managing yourself through the chaos, not letting yourself get caught up too much in it. A fantastic job from both of you guys in that sense. But taking us through, getting to that checkered flag and finishing it with a number of laps ahead of the second place in class. You were ahead of a good amount of just drivers from every category itself. What do you feel like the benefits, right, of that Pro 2 truck kind of can shine? Obviously, not the outright fastest, but at least faster than a good amount of the drivers in the field tonight in other cars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Zach?
Yeah, I don't know. It's that there's really not much benefit to the Pro 2. I think we just drove it, to be honest with you. We don't have four-wheel drive. We don't have the grip. We don't have the power. We can't put the power down. So, yeah, not a lot of benefits to the Pro 2. We just had to keep it clean and manage it. It's throttle.
I'd say it's a pretty durable truck, and it can take a shot. So like, Subaru can hit you, but you'll survive and they'll spin out. The Beetle can hit you, and the Beetle just kind of dies when it touches you. So it's a strong truck, and if you can keep it pointed forward, then you're in a good position. But like Zach said, it's hard to put the power down. It's 2-wheel drive. It's not necessarily the quickest thing out there at all. But you just stay in your lane and just let the abuse happen and drive through it. And we came out on top, so we're happy for that.
Yeah, it's true. We are in a truck, so it is a little durable, but other than that, it's probably the hardest one to drive out there.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'm going to give you the floor. Thank you. You'd like to thank, shout out who you'd like to shout out.
Go ahead, Sean.
Oh yeah, hey, obviously I'd like to thank Racecraft Academy and Real Broker and Next Level Racing, all you guys for putting on a fantastic broadcast. Really excited to watch this thing. It's going to be absolutely probably more mayhem than what it was in the truck, because I only saw what I saw, but what you guys saw was probably insane. So thanks for putting on a great broadcast, and Chris Leone for putting these things on. These are really fun, great way to end the year after a long, hard year of racing. It's fun to come out here and just race for bragging rights and leave it all out here. So thanks a lot, guys, and a big shout out to Zach. Obviously, he's super fast, and I love teaming up with him. He's a great driver, clean competitor, and I'm glad to have him as my co-driver today.
Yeah, and I just want to say thanks to Sean, thanks to everybody involved here in the broadcast. Looking forward to watching this one back, and Chris for putting on these fun events. This is our second time working together, second win, so we're gonna try to stay undefeated for the next one. So yeah, thanks to you guys.
All right. Awesome to hear it. And of course, thank you guys for putting on a great show. Congrats once again.
Our pleasure. Thanks, Dylan. Thanks, guys.
See you guys.
All right. JP, those are the class winners here. What a night.
What a night indeed. And by the way, the Beetle Light Champs who just got confirmation, Ricky Hart and Don Runkle Jr. can confirm, have won for their point standings in Vortex competition. Congratulations to Team BDSM for being able to conquer the competition and be able to show their dominance. Your final thoughts on tonight, Dylan, after what was an eventful one, to say the very least. This first lap was chaotic and set the tone for much of the way.
Yeah, I always love, this is one of those races where that first massive run down to that first turn is quite special, right? It kind of sets the tone for the rest of the race, like you said. And I wouldn't necessarily say the rest of the race could equal that, because you don't have any track where you can go 12 wide and relatively remain unscathed all throughout. I mean, look at that. Just the scenes there of maybe the first 15 cars getting through those first corners without too many problems until, well, this happens right here. But awesome racing. Awesome fifth annual version of this race.
And with that being said, it's just about time to say goodbye for tonight's coverage here on Maconi Entertainment. I'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's coverage of yes2 Motorsports 2025 edition of the Group Therapy 100. Calling the action tonight was myself, Dylan Coyle. I'm not Dylan. I'm Justin. Dylan Coyle was alongside me with Howie Burrows producing for this evening's coverage. Thanks to our viewers for watching tonight's coverage. We hope you stay tuned for all our social media pages for our next race. Thanks to your entire staff for their work in bringing this racing to you. This has been a production of Maconi Entertainment. We'll see you next time.